Another fine Thursday morning. Good morning,
Good
Tracy. It's
good
time for
morning,
Pivot Point
Paul.
Live.
It is Pivot Point Live, and it is also my favorite time of year. It is springtime.
It's Christmas again. What?
No. My favorite, well, okay, I like that favorite time of year, but springtime. I love springtime. Springtime, everything comes to life. I don't know. I get energized. I get energized by seeing green, budding from the trees and the grass turning green. Here we just have two colors of grass, and one is brown, and it starts from June, and it goes all the way until about the mid-March. And so from mid-March to May, we get green grass, and it's beautiful. And then the sun kills it. But I love spring. I've always loved spring.
The sun kills it. Yeah. Well, I don't know if I can call it spring since we didn't have winter. Like we've got trees budding in February up here, and the
So
great
that's
used to be
bizarre
white
for
north,
you.
but it's the great brown north now. So
But anyway, I get just filled with energy. I think I just get filled with energy. We're back from the daylight savings, and it stays lighter longer, and so it seems like you get a little bit more daytime back, and so it just kind of energizes me and fills me with hope and positive energy, I guess.
all right. We've got Positive Tracy on the line.
You do,
So
you
what are
do.
we talking
Move
about
on.
today, Positive Tracy?
Positive Tracy, Paul, this is one that we've been talking about for a little while now, and I know that this is going to serve our audience. And it is, who is your ideal client? Who is the person that, if you had clients like this, you take over the world with your business because you love serving these people? So, who is your ideal client? And likely that what is implied by that is, how do we discover that? How do we, what are some of the first steps to getting into this big topic? And I think it is a big topic. I mean, like when you ask, it's a simple question, but when you ask it to most people, they're like,
Everybody.
yeah, exactly. Right. Yeah. I serve everybody. Yeah. And they really probably haven't thought about it deeply. And Paul, one of the things that I've thought when we were thinking about this topic a while back is, if you don't know who you are, it's very unlikely that, I mean, like who you are as a person, what you enjoy and things like that. If you haven't done some self-reflection, self-discovery, it's very unlikely that you're going to really zone in on who your ideal client is. What are your thoughts about that?
Well, I mean, it's a lot of questioning. It's self reflection, but it's product reflection. I think we've started probably 20% of our podcast, and I know I do this with clients constantly. There's two questions you need to ask yourself. Number one, what is the problem you solve? And number two is, who do you solve it for? Which is the question we're really asking.
Mm-hmm.
When you're thinking about a target client, if you could visualize, I mean, when you're thinking about a target, what do you visualize when I say a target client? I'm just curious.
I've never actually heard it exactly put like that, like a target client. When I visualize, and I love the word, I love how you put that. I visualize a target client. I'm thinking somebody who's likely a few years, if not 10 years older than I am. So when I'm visualizing this person, and they are in, so I'm 48, and I'm thinking about somebody who's been in business for 25 years in the same business, in the same industry. And they're likely in a position where they're like, man, I'm going to be stuck in this for the rest of my life, and I don't want to. I want to move on to the next phase of my life. And they're thinking legacy, they're thinking replacement, transition, and they have no idea. They've just done it like they've always done it for 3 decades. And so I'm thinking about this person who in their heart, I mean, they're doing it, they're killing it, but they're killing themselves too, and they just don't know how to transition.
So what I'm kind of thinking about when I visualize, and back in my days getting started, all this, one of my favorite things to do when I was in college or in the Navy was go to the bar. I played pool, but I also played darts, and I
No
loved playing
way,
darts.
Paul.
Right? So
I just learned something new. Two things about you that I didn't know about: the billiard hall, and playing darts.
Yeah. So the darts is really, I mean, when we start talking about target clients, that's what I'm visualizing. I'm visualizing the dartboard. All right,
Mm,
that center
okay.
not in the center. That's worth 50 points. I'm trying to hit that as I'm trying to count down, but that's going to get me to my 312.
That's
Like,
a good
so
illustration.
that is my target client.
Hmm.
Everything else is kind of offshoots of it. So
Hmm.
when you talk about who you serve, we're talking about your key avatar. We're talking about that 50 pointer. Who is and I'm going to put it this way, who is the perfect client?
Oh yeah.
Okay. So that's where we start. We
Hmm.
start when we're defining who's perfect. Who does this like fit lock and key with? It's
Hmm.
they are perfect. They need every piece, every feature, every function of what I've got, whether it's a product or a training. They're in the perfect demographic. They're who is that? What does that look like?
Hmm.
What's that demographic? Who are they? What do they enjoy? What do they do in their time off? Where do they hang out? Most importantly, where do they hang out? Where are they on Facebook? Where are they on Instagram? What groups are they joining? Who is that perfect client that is absolutely 100% perfect? If I got my product in front of them, they absolutely need it.
Hmm. Yeah. Okay. So I love the analogy of the dartboard. That is beautiful. I've never heard of it. I mean, that's a great way to put it. Everything else is an offshoot of that bullseye. So when you're hitting, I mean, like, and the likelihood, I mean, like, you've got to get really, really good at darts before you can throw all three darts into the bullseye. I mean, that's very few people do that because, you hit one dart just slightly, and now you're in the outer ring from the bullseye. You're close. I mean, you still got some points on the board, but just following that analogy, how often do we hit the wall instead? We don't even hit the board; we hit the
Well,
wall.
that goes to that original statement.
Mm,
Everybody, I serve everybody.
yeah.
I'm not aiming at anything. I'm just kind of closing my eyes and throwing darts, and
Hmm.
I'm hitting the wall. And
How? What do you think is the percentage of people who have a business right now, and maybe they've been in business for 10 years, and they've never really identified and defined their ideal client?
yeah, I really couldn't. I really couldn't put a number to that. I
Is it
I
obvious?
there is a we'll call it levels of understanding of what their perfect client. They realize after a while of doing business that hopefully that a lot of their clients are alike. They seem to attract a certain client. You've
Mm.
heard that before. We
Oh
seem
yeah.
to attract a certain,
Yeah.
you know, um, and they kind of wrap around it, but they're not. And I'm going to use the word intentional about it. They're not intentional about it
Yeah.
because what do you do with that information? That's the big thing. Is what? Okay, great. My perfect clients, 30 to 45. They own a boat that's usually 27 feet to 40 feet long. They have a $700,000 house. They play golf. They like to hang out, in the boating groups on Facebook. Okay, this is the guy. This is my
Mm.
perfect client. I, I'm intentionally I'm intentionally drafting my messaging and my marketing and my advertising to that client. Now,
Yeah.
everybody else who bites into that marketing, that's the outside of the perfect circle. See,
Hmm.
it's different than darts. I want all of those people to see it and buy it, but I'm intentionally targeting this person.
Hmm.
I
Beautiful.
know you and I have had conversations wrapped around this, and we had a conversation once where, we were like, you're sitting at a bar and you start talking and you find your perfect client and someone else is listening in, but you're talking to them and
Yeah.
they go, oh, you do that for the construction industry.
Right.
Can you
Right.
do that for me too?
Exactly. Yeah. Can you
Right?
do all this
That's
for your quick service restaurants?
yeah, right. So, um, it's really about factoring a very tight message that's going to compel your perfect client to come see what you got.
So,
Right.
okay, so this first section that we're talking about is just defining, and that involves, like you said, you said something, and we haven't got there yet, but in the defining your target client, you've got to do a lot of self-reflection. There's going to be the people that you attract, like just naturally because of, the energy signature that you put out. I like to think of it as like you have a frequency, and they're just not tuned in yet to that frequency. They haven't got their dial across that, on a radio type thing. They haven't tuned
Hold
in.
up. I want to stop you there, man. Because it's the other way around. They have a frequency and you need to tune into it. That's the key. That is the key.
You don't think that you're not emitting something like
I think that you're trying to find their frequency. That is the whole point. If you get in their communication frequency, you're trying to find the right words to say. It's their frequency you're trying to match. It's not the other way around. I want to be clear that when you define your target market or your target avatar, your perfect avatar, now you're trying to understand how they communicate so you can craft your message to communicate with them. You're trying to match their communication level.
Okay, so I don't think I don't disagree. I don't disagree, but I think I'm more of a yes and. So like when I started thinking about my ideal client, I had to really do some searching within myself about like for several years, Paul, I was not me. I didn't know me. I didn't know exactly who I was. How could I serve people? Because I would serve just anyone because I really didn't know who I was. And so like I had to find out like what is like if I'm going to speak to like the beautiful thing about me and you and rolling out with Pivot Point and other businesses that we're involved in is that I never have doubted you were Paul. You've always been Paul. And I've always been Tracy.
To a fault. Yeah.
Exactly. Here I am. I mean, like, so I don't disagree with that, but I guess maybe I'm coming in from it like one step behind that is before I can think about their signature and everything. And I think I love what you said. I have to really know who I am so that I stay me.
100%. And that's like the step before, right?
Yeah.
That's the product you solve and who you solve it for.
There you go.
I'm going to be me.
Right.
Now I've got to go out and find the people so that I can message them based on that tie-in, based on that connection. See what you're doing is you're finding your connection point, right? And now you got a little tweaking to make sure that it connects out there with their connection point.
Yeah.
Right.
Love this.
So we're not disagreeing. We're just at different steps of the game.
Yeah, exactly. Okay. And that's what I was feeling like. So we brought it in. Okay. So now so there was two things, and I don't want to leave this one because you brought this up about the product reflection, the problem you solve and who you solve it for. And we're really talking about that, but just can we land on that product reflection? Does that factor in to your ideal client?
Absolutely.
Because I mean, if they don't want, you've got to, in the fact finding and you find out if they are your ideal client and you've got a product that they really don't need, then they're not buying even if they were. So can we touch on that just a little bit? Because you brought that up and I thought, man, that's a great one. I never considered that.
Well, yeah, you have to look at who this product or service perfectly serves, right? And to the conversation we just have, we got a little bit more micro into your business and your coaching, but bring it back out to all products and services. You have to find the perfect client. The second step to that is you have to test that. You have to go call people and get that product and messaging in front of those people and to say, does this resonate? Is this, does this fulfill what we're trying to fulfill here? Yeah. And if they go, yeah, it fulfills it, great. And yeah, I totally buy into it. Then you're starting to test the market and go, okay, there is what we call product market fit. Okay.
Great.
So now you've identified the problem you solve. You've identified who you solve it for. You've proven product market fit. You build your marketing messaging. You get your message and your social media and all that into the groups where they hang out, because you've defined that avatar, for lack of a better term. And now you are messaging and you're engaging and you're doing all the stuff wrapped around the problem, and you're bringing them back to your solution.
So what, like, a beautiful summary of what we talked about so far. And what I'm pulling from that for myself is only today. And this is, I mean, and not probably in the last 2 years have I really zoned in to where I can confidently, I know who I am. I know the problem I serve. And when I speak that out, that messaging, tuning in, and how you flip the script a little bit on this one about tuning into my ideal client's frequency, I can speak so confidently, just like you said, passersby, those that are out on the outside, they, wait a minute, you do what? Man, all that sounds like what I need in my business. Do you only serve that industry? Can you serve, like, because you're so confident about who you are as a person, the problem that you solve and who you solve it for. And that resonates to nearly all points on the dartboard, because ultimately in business, the things that I do for a quick service restaurant can be done in doors and hardware company.
Yep.
It can be done in, like you said, construction, a software company, because I mean, it's really all these points of business that we're serving, because everybody has a lot of the same principles, even if they don't have the same products.
Yeah. And don't forget, you're also, you can play multiple dart games, right? You have multiple boards. You can create another dart board with that 50 in the middle and target that messaging specifically at that industry, with the solution worded just a little differently for that industry in their nomenclature, so that you're tuning in. Again, it's a tuning thing. You're not being you. Your product's still solving the same problem, but it's communicating it differently so that the people that need it. So 80% of the people that have a problem that need to be solved do not realize that they have a problem. So unless they identify what the problem or the symptoms of the problem, you'll never get their attention.
Beautiful. I love the statistic. 80%. By the way, everybody listen to that. That's a big, big deal. And 50% are checking out solutions that will never satisfy their problem. They bought into a solution, and that's what I think. Like, why did we buy it? Well, we bought this, and none of it is addressing the real need. And that may be a fact-finding issue, for the people that they've tried. They just wanted something, and they never got hit on the right thing. So how do we do that? How do we, so from turning into the ideal client's frequency and now to actually serving them and exploring all their needs? What's the next step?
Well, it's time for a trip to the doctor's office, right?
The diagnosis.
What does a doctor do, right? Dr. Tracy Currington.
Yes. What symptoms are you having? Why are we here today?
Bingo.
Yeah.
Bingo.
Yeah.
It's a trip to the doctor's office. We need to assess the symptoms so that we can make sure that we can identify the disease, and then we can prescribe the right solution.
Yeah. And I think so if you were to qualify your ideal client, like my ideal client never beats me up on price, is always satisfied. There's these little things there. I don't have to offer a discount for them to do business with me, right? Like all of these things. So I've got that person.
The client is a good negotiator, right? So I'm ready to negotiate. So that's because I'm looking for an educated client, right? We're going to have we're not going to talk about price. We are going to talk about price. There's no way not to talk about price.
But that's not
what we're going to focus is on value delivery.
Yeah.
Right. From a good salesman perspective, it drives down to value. What value am I going to deliver, and where is that value? Right?
Yeah.
Is that value in the overall global revenue of the organization?
Yeah.
So
if they're focused on price, there's a lot of scarcity probably in there. Like, well, how much is all this going to cost though? And then you're not focused on the product, and you're not focused on the solution. You'd rather keep your symptoms if the price is too high.
But if we fix X, Y, and Z, how's that going to impact your revenue?
Absolutely. Yeah. What is continuing on with this? That's a great thought, because like I go to the doctor, and the doctor really wants to. They discuss my symptoms, and they're saying, okay, this is the solution for your symptom. You're like, I'm just going to keep. I'm going to think about that a little. I'm like, how long do you want to keep those symptoms? How do you want to keep?
So in B2B sales, and I learned this very early in my career, but I want to say this because and this is B2B, B2C or business to consumer as opposed to B2B, business to business. There's a very key difference in B2B sales. People buy for only two reasons. They either buy to increase revenue or they buy to create efficiency and cut costs. Mm-hmm. And that is the same thing, because if you create efficiency, you're cutting costs.
Mm-hmm. What was the first one?
Increase revenue.
Yeah, obviously. Yeah, I want to make more money.
That's the only two reasons at the end of the day that they buy. So the question becomes, how much can you increase my revenue?
Mm-hmm.
Is the product or service a multiple? Can it multiply the increase in revenue? Or can your cost or service decrease by a multiple my costs of doing business?
And what about the business to consumer?
Business consumer is a lot of different things. They could. There's just a thousand things. They can buy to, stature. They can buy to increase stature. It depends on the product, obviously. But when I'm buying a Maserati, I want everybody to see me in my Maserati, right? Because it makes me look higher in stature. Or my Mustang, or my, my 60-foot boat. Or they can buy for utility, right? I don't buy a lawnmower for stature. I buy it for utility. It's utility to cut my lawn because I don't feel like getting the fines from the state. I want my property to look good. Oh, wait a minute. There's stature again, right? So there's a lot of different drivers that go into B2C. I want to look beautiful. I want to be, it depends. This is going to make me look better than that makes me look. And there's just all kinds of drivers that, depending on your product or service, that make me feel better. Why do people buy supplements, right? Look better, feel better, operate better,
So. And that goes back to the importance of assessing the symptoms. If you're not doing the fact finding, I mean, like you said, there's one or two for the B2B, but if your business to consumer is your ideal client is in that realm, you're gonna have to do a lot of hey, what are the symptoms? What's really going on? Why are we here? What are you struggling with? And really get down to the fact where you get them on to where you're solving the right problem.
Yeah. And we really should kind of take 2 seconds to talk about value, because not a ton of people understand exactly what value means. Value is a very it's a term that is what is important to your client. That's where the value lies. Okay. So when we say value, and it's this one word that covers everything, it's really like who you're dealing with at that particular time. What's important to them is the value that you have to sell.
Yeah, it's that want and need, like the what are they wanting to solve versus you may see clearly this is what you really need.
Yeah, and we've had this discussion before, but I want to make sure the want is the value. And the need is what you have to do or what you need to get to that value. So we as solution providers, we operate in the needs space to help the client get to the want space. That's the real key, because what they want, I want $5 million in revenue. Well, to do that, you need to hire 3 salespeople and put in a sales training program. Okay, so here's what you need to do. Here's the tool I have to help you do it to get to what you want.
Yeah.
And those are really, really important. It is very tough for new salespeople to get that perspective. Most don't. because they're like, we're going to sell the tool. We're going to sell the tool. This tool does this, and this. It's great. It's this. And they've never identified the want or the value, right? Those can interchange, that they need the tool to get to.
Mm-hmm. So for somebody watching this right now and they're thinking about their ideal client, discovering what their ideal client values most, and speaking to that, to like, hey, if I know most of my clients that I serve, they value this most of all.
Right.
Peppering that into the offer or the language you're posting and everything. How critical is that?
Yeah. I mean, we'll use the lawnmower for an example. It's like, okay, I come in to the hardware store and I need a lawnmower, and they start talking to me. And the first question is, okay, it's not what are you going to use the lawnmower for?
Yeah,
that's pretty obvious, right? Mm-hmm. It's like, okay, so how big's your lot? 10,000 square feet.
Yikes.
Like, okay, so what kind of lawnmower are you looking at? I said, well, I just want to push lawnmower because I'm cheap.
Yeah, I get my exercise.
Right. I like to get the exercise, whatever it is. How long does it take you to mow the lawn when you use a push mower? Oh, it takes me 2.5 hours, 3 hours. It's like, what do you do for a living? What do you do for a living? I sell cars. And I work all the time. I'm a sales guy. Oh, okay. So would you make more money by mowing the lawn or by doing your job selling? Oh, yeah. So you might want to consider a rider, because it'll take you less than 15 minutes to do that 10,000 square foot lawn in there. What do you think? Yeah, you're right. Because finding out the value is the way you sell the product.
Mm-hmm. And I would imagine value. Very few. I have my favorite car salesman in town. She has sold us a dozen vehicles, and whenever I come in and have that conversation, one of the first things she does is she sits me down. So what are we looking for? And I love this question. Will there be anybody but you driving the vehicle? I love that question.
Yeah.
Because what she's asking is, who else needs to be in the room with me?
Who is the decision makers in the deal?
Like, who's the decision maker, and who else's opinion are we going to? She didn't even show me anything. We haven't got out of the room yet, because she's addressing the symptoms. Or the things that are like, she's getting the facts before. Don't show a product before you get all the facts, because she's got to find out what's valuable to me. And if she knows, well, I think my wife is going to, and she knows my wife, it's a deal breaker if there's no moonroof. Yeah. So she knows that there's some non-negotiables.
So she's trying to find product customer fit, right? That's what she's trying to do. She wants to show you the right product.
Right.
She does not want to show you the wrong product.
Yeah. And that slows down the sales cycle.
Absolutely.
Hey, we got a question. We got a question from one in our audience, and they said, how do you make your ideal clients realize that what you are offering has value and can really help them solve their problems?
That is truly in the discovery process, which we've been talking about, asking the right questions to find. Remember what we said about perspective. Value is a matter of perspective. Mm-hmm. And to find what the customer's perspective on value is, how you determine what value you're selling to.
Yeah.
It is key. The power of sales is not the selling. The power of sales is in the questions that you ask.
Yeah, it's got to be read.
And honestly, I just want to throw one thing. I think salespeople get a bad rap, because the reason that we're asking the questions is so that we can put you into the right product, and that you can walk away a very happy camper, because you are getting to your want. Mm-hmm. We're giving you what you need to get to your want. That's really what this is about. It is a good exchange.
Well, you were the one that sold me on, and I've used our conversation about the Jeep Rubicon. I've used that so often, because that was such a powerful conversation where you actually coached me into, like, hey, what I want is freedom, and the vehicle, pardon the pun, that was going to get me to that end goal. The product was, so you sold me on a Rubicon. Of course, you probably won't get a commission when I buy that Rubicon.
Well, it's
but you helped me, and that's, I think, with our clients, getting down to that one. What I mean, like if somebody says it's got to be red, well, then if I showed them blue and try to twist and turn, I might trick them in, but they're always going to be like parking that in their driveway. Like, man, that is not the color I wanted.
exactly.
Now, my wife has a vehicle that she gave to me because it's not what she wanted. She bought it. It's in her name. She's like, this is not what I wanted. So I had to pass on my turn to get the new vehicle. So I said, I'll take your Lincoln. And she had to go out and get her, I don't know what it was, a Ford, what was it? A Ford, it was the top line above an Escape. And I can't even think what it was. But anyway, she had to have that vehicle because that's really what she wanted. She bought a car that she didn't want because of in the process, she wasn't either asked a question or she, I can't think of the word. She settled. She settled what was available versus what she really wanted.
Yeah. Yes. So.
Yes. Okay, so where do we go? So defining the value in the offer is what we've been talking about. Where do we land the plane on this one? Where, as far as your ideal client, we've discussed we got to define them, and that begins with maybe some soul searching with you, and then finding their frequency and tuning into that in your messaging and how you do that, considering that when you meet with them, assessing those symptoms, and then making your offer. What is maybe a final closing remarks that we can give people for identifying and doing business with your ideal clients?
Well, I think we need to wrap it up in a package, right? Because this is like the marketing package, right? Understanding the problem you solve, understanding who you solve it for, and how to communicate with that person out there in the Ethereum is the marketing package. When you figure all that out and you've got it right, then your revenue is going to shoot through the roof. And I think that's how to wrap it up. Defining, really understanding your target client allows you to know where they are, how to talk to them, how to go out and get their interest and bring them, because they all have the same problem and you have the solution.
You went exactly where I was thinking. I was almost thinking that, how do you know you've been serving your ideal clients? Because for me, it energizes me. When I'm in it's a Zoom call, or I'm in person or serving that client, I'm filled with energy because I love what I'm doing. And I love, so the three things that, like, if you love what you do, you love who you do it with, and you love who you do it for, you're never looking for an exit sign. And I think about those things like in business, like, hey, like, I'm looking for another job. Really? Okay. I just think I want to quit this one. Well, which one is it? Do you not love what you do anymore? Oh, no, I love what I do. Do you not love who you do it with? Oh, I'll really miss them. Oh, you don't like who you do it for? Yeah, I got a horrible boss. And so, like, you're not with your ideal client. I view it the same way. Like, what is hey, the revenues are going through the roof, like you just suggested, but also I'm filled with energy. When I'm serving my ideal client, I'm filled with energy because I love what I'm doing. I love who I do it with, and I love who I do it for.
Yeah, I mean, ultimately, back to the outcomes, right? Your outcome when you get this all aligned and right is success. That's the outcome. Who doesn't like success? Right. So you're getting energized by success at the end of the day.
Yeah. So maybe for somebody who's viewing this right now, they're thinking, man, I just like, I love what I do, but man, it's just like, it's such a drain at the end of the day. I'm so exhausted. There's a good exhaustion, like, I mean, you've told me before, like, man, I'm hooked to the plow today. I'm hooked up on that computer all day long today. So I gotta, cut this short or whatever. You've had days like that. I've had days like that. And some days like that, I'm like, man, I am absolutely exhausted and it just doesn't feel good. And then sometimes I'm exhausted, but man, it feels great.
Absolutely.
because I've been serving all day long those people that really energize me. And you can't get to that. I mean, like, I don't want to accidentally feel good. I want to know the recipe for when I'm
With
doing
intention.
business. Yes,
Yeah.
exactly. You mentioned intentionality. Great way to land the plane on this episode about the results. The outcome from serving your ideal client is success.
That's right. There you go. Bingo.
Yep. Wonderful stuff.
Big
Wonderful.
old bingo.
Yeah, I
All
think
right.
this is like a tip of the iceberg type conversation. I think there's probably a lot more beneath the surface, but I think we've given a lot of value in just these 40 minutes that people can really begin to reflect on and consider. You maybe do an inventory, an audit, a client audit.
Well, do a product a product market fit audit to audit. You know, are we? The question is, are we aimed at the 50-point spot on the dartboard, or are we aimed at the 20? Okay, so we need to be clear on who our perfect client is. Are we clear on that? Because we could be messaging to the 1 on the dartboard.
Yeah. And that 1 will make all the difference. I mean, like, if we aim for the 50, I mean, how many 1s does it take to get to the, I mean, like just serving that 1 ideal client, there's more value in it for us. There's more value in it for them. There, I mean, than the 1. I mean, as far as the revenue, if you're looking at success,
yeah,
I have to serve 50 1s in order to get the same value that I'm getting from 150.
Well, yeah. I was looking at it more from the perspective of I'm not aimed at my client, so I'm getting 1% of what I would if I was aimed at the 50. Right. So it's a target client perspective.
That's what I was saying, that this goes a whole lot deeper than what a 45-minute conversation can.
Oh God, yeah.
Unpack.
Heck yeah.
Yeah. Good stuff. Good stuff. And by the way, you're watching this today, we have the opportunity to coach you through things like that. If you ever consider Paul and Tracy from Pivot Point, we hope that this has been a help to you. Paul, I absolutely enjoy hearing your wisdom and hearing what you've learned in your time of business, and iron sharpening iron on these calls.
Outstanding. Excellent. Well, we'll look forward to seeing everybody next Thursday.
Excellent.
On Pivot Point Live.
Boom. Take care of you, everybody.